I always try and get the results out of the artist, but there's always someone singing a little bit. How did I discover music? Status Quo, of all things. When I was 12 years old, my brother bought me a single for Christmas for no reason whatsoever. I thought, yeah, this is all right. It's got some energy to it. And I got into sort of metal straight away and followed the usual course of Maiden, Priest, Sabbath. I put my own band together, Sabbath, which was when I was 15. And we got signed by the time I was 18. So by September '87, I found myself out in Germany recording. And we did 3 albums. 2 of them, did pretty well on the sort of the indie metal scene. And then the '90s came along and grunge came along, and the whole sort of thrash scene that I was involved with fell apart. And I find myself just sort of naturally going into the studio side of things, because I'd always preferred doing recording, the creative side of being in a band rather than the live side. Although, both have got a lot of fun to them. And I'd set my own little demo studio up. I used to get local bands coming in, and one thing led to another, and I managed to start getting work at a bigger 24-track studio in Nottingham. Started doing a bit of live front of house work. I was an in-house guy at the local club at Nottingham for a couple of years. And then I ended up doing some tours around Europe doing front of house. And I ended up working with Colin Richardson, who'd done Machine Head, Fear Factory, Napalm Death. So he was sort of on the heavier side of things, which was what I was into. And by Christmas, I think it was Christmas '96, I was working out in LA with Colin, doing the second Machine Head album. And I just managed to sort of fall into it in the right place. I did work for Roadrunner and Century Media, Nuclear Blast, Metal Blade, these labels, the bigger of the indie labels since then. Other bands I've worked with, Megadeth, they're probably the most household name, I think you could say, that I've worked with. I got involved with that again because of Roadrunner Records, so I've done a lot of stuff. I've done Machine Head, Killswitch Engage, Earth Crisis, Cradle of Filth. So when they needed someone to push the Megadeth album in a heavier direction, I got the call. A lot of the time I hear bands calling me an extra member. Whether that's complimentary or not, I don't know. But no, they I think I fit in well because I'm of the same age as a lot of the bands that I work with, and I grew up listening to the same music, so I've got a very similar understanding of where they're coming from. And I think, being a guitar player as well, I can actually, if I've got ideas, it's very easy for me to show them what I'm hearing in my head. You can't put your own stamp on things too much either. You've got to bring the best out of the band, but you also colour it in a certain way that gives it your feel, which is what, to me, a good producer should do. He shouldn't take over, but he should be like a film director in a way. Melodyne. There's obviously been a few things on the market, but Melodyne, I think, just gives you a bit more flexibility. It's quick, really, with Melodyne. I think I can hear the others more when I use them. Melodyne, to me, is a bit more transparent. It keeps a bit more of the character. To me, sort of instantly out the box with Melodyne, you can get quick results, and it gets you there easy. And the fact that it's so easy just to, move notes around, pick single notes out as well is a real nice thing, where you're not having to actually physically draw it in. Mainly bass I'll use it for, because I always find that bass players will tend to hit that string sort of 10-15 cents sharp, even if you tend to tune it down, especially for the drop tuning stuff that we get in metal. That low E or D, C, whatever they're tuning it to, will be rattling around like one-oh. So you need to level it out a little bit. And I find that if you've got quite a scoop bass sound, which people tend to do a lot, and you're trying to get a bit of that mid-range back into it, that 1K in there, just to get it to sit in the mix a little bit more. As soon as you start putting the mid-range in, you'll hear that tuning issue that you tend to get with bass. So a real quick fix for me is to bang the track into Melodyne, run it through, and I'll just then lift sections. You know, if there's an odd section for me that feels like it's pushing particularly sharp, I then just, you know, get the fixed track on the DI, pop it across, and reamp it through whatever we're doing. I won't use it for quantizing, but just for pulling the pitch back into shape, and just for sections as well. If it's something, you know, when I have reamped it in that mid-range, the bass is more prominent against what the guitars are doing, you'll hear it, you know, it'll sound that little bit sour, so it'll just pull it back into shape. And obviously for vocals as well, you know, getting everything sitting nicely there. But I always try and get the results out of the artist, but there's always someone singing a little bit. I wouldn't say me, but I think it's made people a little bit lazy, especially when an artist starts figuring out what you can do in the studio. You'll get a little bit of that, you know, okay, just fix that, you know. There'll be a bit of that where I think back when it was the days of 2-inch tape, you know, we would have gone for a better performance. But in Melodyne and Pro Tools' defense, there's also the thing where, you know, you've got a good performance and it's got attitude, which I think is the real important thing with vocals, and you're not losing that performance because you can just bring it back into shape. So there's pros and cons, I think. I don't think people are having to work so hard to get the results now, but I think it's a time saver, and obviously time means money. Everyone's number crunching these days, so you've got to look at studio time like that a little bit now, where if you can, you know, get better results quicker, I think it's important. Probably, you know, getting out to America to work, because that is a big sort of stepping stone. There's a lot of people that I know are doing great work over here where they never get that break. So I was lucky that Colin asked me to go and work out there. That really opened a lot of doors for me getting out to the US. I'd say maybe the Killswitch album going gold in America, that was a nice sort of thing to reach. Getting a Swedish Grammy for the Opeth record, that was good. But it's not all about awards and sort of record sales as well. I mean, a lot of it is the people you meet and the sort of the friends you make in the industry, really. I mean, obviously, you know, I've done okay and I've made a career out of this, but I've had a lot of good memories, which I'm not going to say on camera. But, you know, I've done my bit for the English branch of rock and roll, yeah, definitely. But I've met a lot of good people and had a lot of fun, actually. So, you know, if the next flight to America goes down somewhere over the Atlantic, I'll have a smile on my face, yeah.